Hey guys, good evening. This is Karthik Ashok representing the Professional Helps team. This is our hat trick on Insta Live. Happy to be interacting with you guys. So, we'll be interacting about forensic this week. You are always welcome to comment your doubts. We will be acknowledging it once in a while. So, let me introduce our guest for today, Dr. Arun Pinju Xavier, the Assistant Professor of Forensic Medicine, Sri Mugami and Soda Medical Sciences. Stay tuned to know the mystical facts that we are going to unveil today. We'll start on time. So we're adding up the guest. Hello, sir. Good evening.
Good evening, Karthik.
When we think of forensic, the first thing that comes to our mind is death. With that word being heard so far in the last 4 months, the world has had various opinions about forensic experts about the important aspects of the subject, especially the medico legal cases. So let us start by strengthening our basics. Sir, we are moving to our first question. In a case where a person is brought dead to the hospital due to an accident or whatsoever, doctor confirms the death but refuses to hand over the body to the family because of a medico legal issue. What is a medico legal case?
Medical legal case as such doesn't have a definition, but I will let you know what definition we teach our students. So, medical legal case is a case of injury or ailment where an attending doctor, after taking clinical history and examining that patient, thinks that some investigation by the law enforcing agency is required so as to fix the responsibility of the case in accordance with law. So, this is one definition of a medico legal case. That is, you after examining a doctor after examining a patient, he thinks that a police or the magistrate has to be informed so as to fix the responsibility of this case in accordance with law. Yes?
Okay, sir. I have a doubt in this case. It is the family member who have paid all the charges in the hospital. They have all the rights to get back their dead body. Why is in this case the body is not handed over, and what is the role of police in such a situation, or what is the role of police or the state in such a situation?
What you said is correct. It's your like your relative. You have paid everything. But even in those conditions, if it is a medico legal case, Imagine the history, as of your history, I would say that the person must have, it's a case of broad dead. So in such a case, it's a medical legal case. So in a medical legal case, the body belongs to the state. Body belongs to the state means it belongs to the police or the magistrate. It is for their decisions we have to abide with. So police will register this case under a relevant section of IPC. The police may take the victim to a registered forensic surgeon, okay, to carry out his medical legal work. Okay, it is nothing but in case of a unnatural death, the body belongs to the state, that is the police or the magistrate,
Yes.
right?
Yes, sir. So I think that is a perfect answer to strengthen our basics, sir. I'm moving to the second question. For anyone who is admitted in a hospital for any medical procedure, they are asked to sign a lot of documents without even an explanation. Sir, what are the rules to be followed in such a situation?
First and foremost, I'll let you know. Before signing any document, you have to have an idea like what you are signing. Because you are not kids, you have the age of understanding what you are signing. So without knowledge, if you are signing any document, it is invalid. It doesn't make sense, right? So when you are admitting, like like the question which I would modify it, it is like the patient is admitted as an IP. Then definitely they will ask you to sign a lot of documents. That is nothing but a general consent.
Sir,
General
sorry to
consent
interrupt.
forms.
Sir, sir, can you tilt your camera, please, sir?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you, sir.
Will
Thank
this
you.
be fine?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Yeah, we were continuing. Okay, blanket, we were talking about general consent. So general consent, you will definitely be asked to sign a lot of documents. So that is a general consent, or in other words, you can call it umbrella consent. So umbrella consent, you sign certain documents so that you give consent for minor procedures like IB cannulation, for blood test, and
Yes.
other investigation like ECG, X-rays, all those investigation, you are just giving a general consent. That is what you call as umbrella consent or general consent. But that general consent, you have always a age by which you can give consent. That is up to age 12 or 12 years and above, you can give consent for general physical examination. So, and 18 and above can only give consent for general, for any procedure involving in all invasive procedures. Only then you become an adult, you become a major, right? But when you sign any documents without knowing, or without you sign a document without knowing the consequences of what you are signing, it becomes invalid,
Okay.
right?
Yes. Sir, you told about consent. Then there will be types of consent that are followed in different aspects. What type of consent is followed in a hospital setup?
Okay, let's talk about consent. Initially I told about general consent that just includes certain minor procedures. So in a hospital setup, you've got different types of consent. One is express consent, or sorry, implied consent and express consent. Implied consent is out of your body demeanor. Express consent is like, it could be in the verbal form as well as in the written form, right? And in hospital setup, we follow the doctrine of informed consent, or to be more specific, I would call informed, written, witnessed consent. It has got three things. It's informed, it's written, witnessed. So it is called informed. Why? Because I as a doctor have explained the surgical line, the medical line of management, have given the success rate, information about the success rate, the failure rate, how many days of hospital stay, whether it comes under insurance coverage, what are the all those details I give. Then I give an like option to the patient whether you want to do the surgery over here or you want to walk out and do it somewhere else. So after giving all details, I get the consent. That is why it is informed. It's in the past tense. I have already informed and getting the consent. Second thing, it is witnessed. So it should always be witnessed by a third party. So it is written, witnessed, informed consent. Right?
Okay, sir. Sir, you are told in case of a valid consent, the person whom you are examining should be orated to place and time.
Yes.
In a case where a person is drunk, can we examine without his consent?
Definitely in a case of drunkenness, he is not oriented to time, place. He is under the influence of alcohol. So does that make sense? No. Then
Yes,
how
sir.
are you gonna start your treatment, or how are you gonna examine him? So like it is explained by section 53 CRPC. So section
Okay.
53 CRPC says that when a person is arrested on charge of committing an offense and is alleged to have been committed under such circumstances, and there are reasonable grounds for believing that the examination of this person in the sense the accused, will afford evidence as to the commission of offense, it shall be lawful for a registered medical practitioner acting
Okay.
at the request of a police officer not below the rank of sub inspector of police. That is
Okay, sir.
nothing but, let's make it in a proper sense. You have a arrested person, and the arrested person is being accompanied by the requisition from the SI of that local police station. You don't have to take his consent. You can start on your treatment and examination without his consent. So this
Okay.
is the law like section 53 CRPC. So you don't have to wait for his consent, because if you want to wait for his consent, by that time his blood alcohol concentration must have reduced, and you can't go with the examination properly. In case of drunkenness, you have to give an opinion whether he is drunk under the influence of alcohol or he is not drunk, right? So by
Yes,
the
sir.
time you are waiting for him to become conscious and get his consent, all these things we will be losing the evidence, right? And
So
there are
that is
certain conditions wherein you don't have to take consent in case of
okay.
emergency, or in case of drunkenness, or examining a psychiatric patient. You don't have to wait for consent. You can start on with your treatment and examination.
Fine, sir. Sir, we see a lot of road traffic accident cases where if a person is hurt on the road, the general public surround the area of accident. Under such situation, what is the role of state towards the person who is dead or unconscious?
Okay. Let me modify the question as if the person is dead.
Yes, sir.
Okay. If the person is dead, okay, you see a lot of crowd, people gathering around him. Okay, imagine you are a lay person. So you normally intimate the nearby police station. So when you intimate the nearby police station, somebody from the police, either a constable or a SI will come visit the scene of crime. So initial thing, you have to identify who the person is. Identification is nothing but you ask all WH questions. Where is this guy from? Who is this person? What are his identification marks? So that gives an idea, like we just identify the preliminary identification data we get. So
Okay.
after identification, the police people, with the help of 2-3 respectable people, that what we normally call is panchas. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So with the help of these like 2 or 3 panchas or respectable people, they will write a document telling the number of injuries. Imagine some injuries are there, or either identification details. Where is this person coming from? How long? How age? What is the height? What is the weight? How many injuries? And which weapon has caused? Whether it's caused by a sharp force or a blunt force. All those injuries you make, all those details you jot down, and this is what you known as Panchanama, and that
Okay.
is being signed by these panchas and handed over to the police people. So this police people, after going through all these, if they find any foul play involved in it, the body is not handed over to the respected relatives. If ever there is some foul play, the body is taken to the nearby forensic surgeon for post-mortem examination to finding out the cause of death, whether it's natural or unnatural, to find out the time since death, all those details. You normally do a post-mortem examination if that inquest report has some foul play in it. Good.
Sir, you told that the police will be asking all the WH related questions. As a forensic expert, in a forensic name, what will be that procedure called?
This is nothing but what we call as inquest. Inquest is nothing but legal inquiry into the legal inquiry into the sudden, suspicious, unnatural death.
Okay.
Legal inquiry into the cause of a sudden, suspicious, unnatural death. This is inquest.
Okay. Sir, can you also brief about the types of inquest
Inquest in India?
in India, sir?
Okay, in India as well as like abroad. In India, we have got most common is police inquest. Then we have got magistrate inquest. Okay, section 174 CRPC and section 176 CRPC. Apart from this, you have got this is what happening in India. Apart from that, you have got medical examiner system, procurator fiscal system, all those types. In our country, the most common inquest followed is police inquest. Section
Okay, sir.
174 CRPC. Good.
Sir, the world has seen protesting mobs against the burial of a dead remain of a COVID-19 positive patient. Can a COVID-19 positive dead body infect the people in surrounding locality, the health workers, etc.?
Can a COVID positive dead body infect others?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay. So, you have got, if a COVID positive, like you have actually two categories for it. You have got COVID suspect as well as COVID or confirmed COVID cases. Confirmed COVID cases is like you test RT-PCR and you get a positive report. Suspected COVID is nothing but the person who was symptomatic or who was in contact for the last who was in contact for the last 14 days with a person who was with fever or with any COVID positive patients. So your question was, can I have the question once more?
We have seen protesting mobs against the burial of a dead remains of COVID-19 positive patients. Can that dead body cause infections to the health workers or the nearby locality, sir?
Okay, I will tell you. So I'll talk about the precautions which we follow. That
Yes, sir.
gives a proper definition for this thing. So what are the precautions we follow? Imagine a person is dead. Okay, all of a sudden he is dead. Any person who is touching the dead body should have his hand hygiene. Second, he should have proper use of his personal protective equipments. Personal protective equipments means goggles, N95 mask, face head cover, face shield, coveralls, shoe cover, then gloves. So these are the things he should have before handling any dead body.
Okay, sir.
So when a person is dead, let's talk from when his death is declared from hospital. He will definitely, this is like this infection normally spreads by droplet spread, right? Mode of transmission is droplet spread. So what all the nasopharyngeal tube, endotracheal tube, all these cannulas, all these needle puncture marks, all these things will be initially be removed, and all these openings, needle puncture marks, needle puncture mask, cannula, once you remove the cannula, all those will be disinfected with 1% hypochlorite solution. And any needle puncture marks, any wounds will be stuck with adhesive tape so that it makes impermeable, so that none of the fluid is going to come out. Okay. Second thing, you are going to stuff cotton which is soaked with 1% hypochlorite solution into the nose as well as mouth. So these natural orifices are being closed. You don't have to think about any droplet spread or any fluid which is going to come out from a COVID positive dead body. It is been properly blocked. Nose is blocked, mouth is blocked. All those needle puncture marks are being seized with adhesive, like with a tape, so that any body fluid is not going to come out. So after that, the body is completely cleaned with or washed with 1% hypochlorite solution. Then the body is it's bagged into a double layer plastic sheet, which is waterproof and which is leak proof. And the outside of this bag is again being disinfected with 1% hypochlorite solution. Okay, so when you do this, you always see to that you keep the face transparent, so that it helps in identify by the blood relatives. After doing all this, you use adhesive tapes to cover it, right? Then you then you disinfect it with 1% hypochlorite, then the whole body which is bagged is again put into another bag which is being cleaned inside with 1% hypochlorite solution inside as well as outside. And that third bag what we use is actually a sib bag. Okay, then you close the sib. This is how we handle a dead body, or when you transport a dead body. So I know this is a quite big session. So initially what we did, the person who is handling has had his hand hygiene. He is using personal protective equipment, his face mask, goggles, face cover, face shield, coveralls, shoe cover, all those personal protective measures he is using. Apart from that, we have removed all those cannula, catheter. We have closed the needle puncture marks, all those tiny small openings, all those wounds. We have disinfected with 1% hypochlorite. We have cleaned it. We have closed it with impermeable membrane like adhesive tapes. Second thing, you have stuck cotton which is soaked with 1% hypochlorite into the nose as well as oral cavity. Third thing, the whole body is again cleaned with 1% hypochlorite solution. After doing all this, the body is bagged into a double layer plastic, transparent, waterproof, leak proof cover, which is again what to say, it's closed with adhesive tapes, which is then disinfected with 1% hypochlorite from outside. Then this bag is again bagged into another container which is a sib bag. Okay,
sir.
So after doing all this, the chance of, even if a virus is going to live in that person, the amount of infectivity is going to be less. Even if it is going to be there, the amount of reproduce, it is not going to reproduce. And even if after dead, the amount of enzymes which the body is going to produce due to putrefaction will not allow the virus to be alive.
Yeah.
So I would say you are on the safer side if you use your personal protective equipments and if you use your hand hygiene. Just by having a double mask and having the proper use of an N95 mask will help it. But still then we advise all these goggles, face shield, coveralls, shoe cover, personal protection, all this we give, so that all those social stigma which has been attached with the COVID positive dead body should remain dead. Right?
Okay, sir. Yes, sir. Sir, what are the rights of a dead?
That's a very good question, which has got a lot of values. What all rights a living has to be there with the dead, right?
Sir.
Whatever rights we living have has to be there with the dead. What all rights we have? We have self-respect. Right, okay, or let me make it into a different form. You have to give a proper burial for that dead body, respecting all the social norms and respecting all the religious customs which he should get at that particular point of time.
Okay, sir.
Second thing, just because he is dead, you will not take advantage. He will never be viewed in a nude form. No. The body has to be completely covered. Second thing, you have to give him a decent, dignified death. And another thing, a dead body is not going to speak out. And you are going to speak for him. That is, you being the medical team, or we being the medical team, will see to that he gets a dignified, decent, and a self-respected death, following all his religious customs. You will not put any bar to all these religious customs. Right?
Yes, sir.
Good.
Sir, there is a doubt that has popped up. Why is autopsy banned in India for COVID-19 cops?
That's a very good question. First and foremost, we were discussing about medical legal case.
Yes, sir.
Right, medical legal case is like after taking history and clinical examination, the doctor examining the patient thinks that some help or some aid from a law enforcing agency is required so as to fix the responsibility of this case according to the law. But as of now, COVID positive body is not more a medical legal case.
Okay,
You
sir.
understood?
Yes, sir.
As of the newer guidelines formed by the ICMR says that COVID positive dead body is not a medical legal case. Even if I say so, let me explain what I meant to say. Imagine you have got two dead bodies. Okay, dead body by name A and B. So A was having, like, he had positive symptoms. He came to hospital, got admitted. We were treating him, and while during treatment, he succumbed to death.
Okay,
And he
sir.
was already shown as COVID positive. But we were not able to save him. He was put in ventilator. We did CPR. He was started with dopamine, nothing. On top of all the efforts we did, we were not able to bring him back to life. So that
Okay.
is the first case, COVID positive. You don't have to do postmortem because we know the cause of death being COVID, and that is not anymore a unnatural death. It's not a medical legal case. The treating physician can issue medical certification of cause of death. MCCCE can be issued by the treating doctor. Okay, let's come to a different case. Okay, we come across a case of road traffic accident. Okay, he was brought dead to our casualty. So on examining him, we do all like hand hygiene, or in other words, I would say, treat all patients at COVID positive unless otherwise proved. Right? Treat
Okay, sir.
everyone. Treat even your nearest friend, your brother, your sister, your dad, your mom as COVID positive unless otherwise proved. Okay. Second scenario is like the patient B. The patient B came with a road traffic accident. He is in our casualty, brought dead, brought in 108 ambulance. We are examining him. Patient is completely dead. Okay, what to say? Like ECG shows straight line, his pupils are dilated, cold clammy limbs, everything. He is dead. But he could be a suspected case of COVID positive, as I've already told. You treat everybody as COVID positive unless otherwise proved. You send the swab. You send the swab. So here we have got two things. Here we have to do a autopsy, and that the decision of taking because this is a medical legal case. This is a case of road traffic accident. That is an MLC. But just because he is COVID positive or negative, or he had a history of foreign travel, or he was in contact with people who had symptoms, or he was in contact with other people who had COVID positive symptoms over a period of the last 2 weeks, you can still rule out whether he is COVID positive unless and until you give a swab, right? You take a swab and send for RT-PCR. So here, the decision to do a medical legal autopsy, it completely depends upon the police officer, the investigating officer. Because the investigating officer, even if you want to do a postmortem, you can do it, but it should be an invasive autopsy.
Autopsy. Okay.
Right? So invasive autopsy in the sense you with the help of imaging techniques and with this like circumstantial evidence, all those hospital reports, records, investigations like CT, MRI and all, you can